What's going on, you guys, and welcome to the playoffs. Hell yeah, brother.
Heck
Ooh,
yeah, man.
got a
For,
little
y'all,
wizard up
for
there.
those of y'all week one of playoffs, it's time to get that lineup right, see who's not performing, who is performing. And then for those of y'all, it's the last week. I know some people have their last week of season this week. It's crunch time, baby. It's time to get in or be kicked out.
It really is crunch time, and I kind of like this time because on the waiver wires, it's not going to be as busy or as active because you're only going to have, 4, maybe 5 players trying to get certain players off the waiver wire. So you have a pretty good chance of getting some of these players. And guys, honestly, so much is happening right now, not just with injuries, but with COVID related outings for these players. So it's tight in the waiver wire. I'm not going to lie. It is very tight right now. A lot of people are handcuffed. But we still got to grind it out. We still got to do it. Right now, I think the biggest concern for most fantasy players is the running back position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of guys questionable. You see that Q on there all the time, or the D for doubtful, and it just scares you, man. Even though it's so early on in the week, you still want to hear some good news from those guys. But if you don't, we got some pickups for y'all here today.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? You ever played Xbox when you were younger?
Yeah.
And you saw the ring of death when you turn
Oh,
on your Xbox and it turns red?
and you
you're
turn
just
it
like,
off, and you're just like, and then you wait, and you're like, you don't want to push it again because then
yeah,
it turns red again, and you're like, oh no.
you say a quick prayer, you do whatever, you light some candles, unplug it, plug it back in, and then you turn it on, hoping that it's just green and that's it.
Yeah,
That's how
man.
it feels whenever you see your running backs as questionable or doubtful. Especially hurt me these past couple of weeks with Henderson, the running back from the Los Angeles Rams. It's just nonstop, man. You can't catch a break. Even with players like Lamar Jackson, who is a focal point in some players' fantasy leagues or fantasy teams, and he goes out with an ankle injury. So that's huge. That's a huge impact. But I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're gonna grind out the waiver wire, see who's available and who's actually going to help out your team. And we've been saying this all season long. It's all about matchups, but now it really is about matchups, and it's going to be harder to do it week by week. So you kind of want to aim for players that have a favorable next 3 weeks, you know, to get you through the fantasy playoffs. So you're not trying to grind on the waiver wire or just relying on that because those players are not in the playoffs. I mean, the players that they had, they're dead. That's it. They're not going to be dropping them. They're not going to be whatever. It's just you and whoever else is in the playoffs. And I think everyone should be in the playoffs, right? Or is there like a small percentage that people are still in the regular season?
I'm not too sure on the percentages, but I know a lot of people usually like to have their playoffs early because they hate when teams that are doing extraordinary well, and those guys are usually the guys you get your points from on fantasy. They sit their best players in sometimes the last 2 weeks. So I know like in my leagues or like the leagues that we're in, we started early, so our playoffs are already starting this week.
Yes, it is, you guys. And like we talked about the whole quarterback situation, like Lamar Jackson, that is huge. Russell Wilson seems to be back. We saw a little bit of the old Russell Wilson against the Houston Texans. But still, you still need to address the quarterback situation. Even you looking at Cam Newton, he's splitting reps with the other quarterback there in Carolina. And it's just said right now that they're going to continue to split those reps. So I'm going to talk about a quarterback that I've been talking about for the past 3 weeks. And honestly, I understand, some of y'all don't believe me or didn't believe me, but I'm talking about Taysom Hill, you guys. He's only owned in 12% of leagues, and he's had back-to-back 23 plus points games, you guys, back to back. And I know his upcoming schedule, he has the Bucks next. And I get what you're thinking. Okay, the Bucks, they're a good team. They could hold them back. But you know what? That's going to force the New Orleans Saints to start passing the ball. So I could definitely see Taysom Hill still tearing it up, getting a 20-point game against the Buccaneers. And after that, they got Miami. They got Carolina. And for those of you who have a late playoff run, they have Atlanta after that. That's a very favorable matchup. He's going to be that point machine. He's going to lead you up. Unfortunately, I have Lamar Jackson, and he's injured. That's in my 14-man league. And I went to go look for Taysom Hill, and he's gone. He's out of there. I think someone had dropped Derek Carr, so that's probably going to be my best bet there. But Taysom Hill, guys, he's only owned at 12%. If he's available in your league, go pick him up, you guys. He's going to thrive during the fantasy playoffs. He tore it up these past 2 weeks, and he just got back, injury or no injury. He's Taysom Hill, and he is the fantasy, I don't want to say legend, but he's up there in royalty category when it comes to fantasy points.
Not bad, man. Yeah, I have quite a bit of quarterbacks here based upon matchups. One of the guys I want to talk about is y'all's quarterback, Jimmy G. Y'all have a very favorable match, like next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be y'all playing Atlanta, Tennessee, and then the Texans. The Texans are supposed to be the better team against the pass, but hasn't really shown this year. So I don't know what fantasy goes off of on those things, but I think it's just because they're running the ball half the time because the score's so high against them. So they don't have as many passing yards against them. But I think Jimmy G is a good guy to pick up if he's not if he is available in your league. He's only in 14.8% of leagues, and I know he's picked up in AJ's because of the pettiness over there. They don't want you to get.
They're super petty, and that's the league I have Lamar Jackson in. And just because I'm a Niners fan, obviously, and I talked in this fantasy podcast, I talked about Jimmy G. We talked about him the past 2 weeks as well. Yeah, he's not an outstanding quarterback, but he's a reliable quarterback. I'm not talking about playing wise, I'm talking about fantasy wise. He's a reliable quarterback that's going to get you 16 plus points a game. And like you said, they're going up against Atlanta, Tennessee, and I know you guys are thinking, "Oh, Tennessee, that's going to be tough," but not really because they give up a lot of points to quarterbacks. Houston, and for those of y'all late playoff, yes, they do play against LA, but the last time he played up against LA, he got 16 plus points. So that's a good positive route for you to go if Jimmy G is available. I know he's not available for me, but I'm more than sure he's available for y'all.
Yeah, man, I definitely like the way he's playing right now. He's passing the ball to Kittle, to Ayuk, and then if Debo's healthy, I mean, that's just another guy to pass to. I think Mitchell being hurt kind of switches y'all's offensive schemes a little bit, just
100%.
because you can't pound the rock with those other guys that you got. I think Jeff Wilson does a decent job, but not something that Elijah Mitchell does.
Right.
So I think he's a good guy to pick up. In the last, I think, 7 weeks, he hasn't scored below 15, except for one time when he only had 11 points. But everything else is 27, 19, 16, 15, 16, and then this past week was 20. So he's very consistent. I like the way he's playing. I don't like y'all's team, but I like the way he's playing for fantasy reasons. Another guy I think that's going to do pretty god dang well is Mr. Old Time himself, Big Ben.
Oh,
Yeah, so far in the past 2 weeks, I've kind of wanted to talk about him, but I was kind of iffy with it because I didn't know what the wide receiver deal was over there. But in the last 2 weeks against Baltimore and the Vikings, who are pretty decent, uh, he scored 19 and 24. He's got at least 2 touchdowns in both of those games, and he's going up against the Tennessee Titans this next week. And then after that is the Chiefs. Those teams are not very good on defense against quarterbacks, so I think Ben Roethlisberger will probably have some favorable matchups there. He's only owned in 15.3% of leagues. I just think the way he's going right now, in the past 4 weeks, he's only had one time where he hasn't had double-digit points, and that was against the Bengals when they freaking demolished them. So, yeah, he's got 22, 8, 19, and 24 in the past 4 weeks. I think he keeps it up, and he has good games against the Titans and the Chiefs.
nice.
Other than that, I think the only other guy I really, really like
I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I think you do. But I like Tua.
Yep.
He's coming off a bye week. They've settled some stuff out there, and there's a big circumstance there that we're going to talk about soon for running backs. So I think he's going to be passing the ball because of that circumstance. He's going up against the Jets. He's going to have a game. He's not a rushing quarterback anymore, basically, but he is slinging the rock. The past 3 weeks, he's had 20, 13, and 17. And the last time he had 20 points in that game was against the Jets. So I think he has the same success. He went 27 for 33 in that game, and he had 273 yards and 2 touchdowns with one pick. So I mean, he's not the best quarterback, but he is good against the Jets so far, and all the teams that are in green against quarterbacks. So I think he does well, and I think he might be able to take that momentum into New Orleans.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, I had Tua on my mind as well. He does have a good matchup coming on against the Jets. I could definitely see him, like especially if you're hurting with Lamar. He is day to day, and John Harbaugh already said that he sees Lamar playing this Sunday. But if you just want to play it safe, put Tua in if he's available in your league. He's going to score some great points for you and help you advance in the playoffs until Lamar is 100% healthy, or you just might keep Tua in. So I mean, it's up to y'all. Me personally, I think I'd rather have Lamar in than Tua, healthy Lamar. But but yeah, I know he's been real consistent this year. But let's address the main concern when it comes to fantasy owners, and I do believe that is the running back position. Now, as you, Vincent, as a Seattle Seahawks fan, you know who the biggest talk of the town is right now. So I'll let you take it away for the first pick.
Yeah, man. I think right now the best guy out there in free agency, because he's only owned in 1.6% of rosters, is Rashad Penny. The game that I went to, luckily, he was our first round pick back in 2018. Hadn't really done anything for the Seahawks, and they had even mentioned probably dropping him this year or cutting him from the team. Luckily, they didn't because we're having running back issues. Carson is out for the season. Adrian Peterson is out with back injury. Travis Homer, I believe, is out with a knee injury, but he's questionable this week. So Rashad Penny is getting the workload. He went 16 carries for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that's because we really didn't even run it too much in this game. So he was very consistent. I see him being consistent because the matchups this next week, the matchup is hard against the LA Rams, but I mean, the way he ran the rock, I think he's going to do decent. I think they're going to use him inside the red zone, especially if he's the only running back pretty much healthy besides Alex Collins. Collins hasn't been good in the red zone, so I think we use Rashad Penny there. But after that, they play Chicago and they play Detroit, and then the last week they play Arizona as a divisional game. But I think after scoring 27.8 points, I think this guy is the best guy to pick up, especially because he's only owned in 1.6% of rosters. Luckily, I'm one of those guys. In the one league that I made playoffs, I have him on my team already because I knew that he was going to come in and make some noise. But yeah, Rashad Penny is the guy for me. I think and that's not me being biased or anything. It's just the way that I saw him play against that weak defense. I think he got some momentum in there, and I think he will make some noise this next week. Not 27-point noise, but definitely more than 12 points.
Yeah, he's definitely the running back for a to hold throughout the playoffs because of his later matchups. I don't like his matchup against LA. LA is very strong, but I can still see him putting up points. If he's going to be part of that catching back, mainly because they don't have too many options there. But if you saw last night, Connor, I mean, he had a lot of points against uh, LA. So hopefully Rashad Penny could do that for them. And I say hopefully because I think it would be the coolest thing ever if we had every team from the NFC West to make it to the playoffs. I think that would be awesome, having Arizona, LA, San Francisco, and Seattle. Not that I want to see him there, but I don't has it been done before? I don't think it has. But
Never, bro.
I
Not
would like
even
to
the
make
top
history.
3 of a division. So, yeah.
But yeah, that'll be awesome. There's this one guy I want to talk about. I'm not the biggest fan of him, and I know maybe 1% of fantasy uh, players drafted him. I am part of that 1%, and I regret it. But I want to talk about Mike Davis, the running back for the Atlanta Falcons. So he had 13 plus points in back-to-back games. His attempts are getting higher. They're being more consistent. The past 3 weeks, he had 5 attempts, 4 attempts. This past game, he had 11, but his targets are being more consistent. It was 4, and this past week it was 6. So he is getting those targets, and you could actually see him taking away a little bit of the spotlight from
Patterson.
from Patterson. And I could see Mike Davis, glowing up, getting consistent points. Now I'm talking not RB2, I'm talking maybe a mid RB3 guy for your league just to have. And his upcoming matchups, he's going up against San Francisco, which I feel like they're real inconsistent when it comes to running backs. They can either play really well or really bad, just depending what San Francisco team is showing up that day. And they're going up against Detroit and Buffalo, which Detroit, they're weak against the run, and Buffalo, they are known to be weak against the run. So I think Mike Davis can pull off from there. So just in case, I know he's owned in 57% of leagues, but he could be a good pickup for you, especially if something happens to Cordero Patterson. Another guy I really want to talk about, his name is Royce Freeman. He is the third string running back from the Houston Texans. And I know it's the Houston Texans, but this week they're playing up against Jacksonville. And so he has a huge possibility that he could have a blow up game. And I only say this huge possibility because David Johnson, as of right now, Sunday morning, he was ruled out with COVID-19. Rex Burkhead, the second string, he's out with I think a calf injury. So it's all up to David Johnson. If David Johnson is going to be out this week against Jacksonville, 100% put Royce Freeman in. I think this past week he had what was it, like 16 points? He had a good amount of points, and he had 11 rush attempts and 8 targets. That's pretty darn good for a running back, especially since he's going to be the only running back they have. He's going to take the entire workload for the Houston Texans, and I can see him gain a lot of points.
So, yeah, man, I agree with that. In Miami with that predicament going against Jacksonville. Like I said, I think Tua is going to have a big game, but I definitely think that Royce Freeman is going to have an even bigger game because he is pretty productive in the passing game. Against us, he only played one half. Or no. Yeah, he only played in one half. So, I mean, he had 6 catches for, I think, 50 yards. No, yeah, 51 yards. And he only played in the third and fourth quarter because that's when Rex Burkhead got hurt. So I think he is going to have a big game against Jacksonville. They are pretty fast at the corner position and stuff like that, but Royce Freeman was a big boy when I saw him. So he was knocking some of our corners around and getting those extra yak yards. So
well, yeah, he tore it up in Denver. I liked him since then. Unfortunately, Philip Lindsay, he's out with COVID as well, I think. But yeah, Royce Freeman, I could definitely see him tearing it up and actually saving a lot of people this week if David Johnson is not available. Remember, that's a huge if. If he is available, don't pick him up. His production is probably not going to be that great. But yeah. Also, another guy, he's not going to be starting, but he's going to be taking the role of a second or a third down back. I'm talking about Ernest Johnson. So Kareem Hunt got injured once again, so he is out. I think he's going to be out for the rest of the regular season, and Ernest Johnson is going to be in there. He's not going to take up the load. He's just going to be that pass catching back. I mean, he's only 11% of rosters, so it cannot hurt you. And they're going up against Las Vegas, then Green Bay, and then Pittsburgh. Green Bay might be a little bit of a challenge, but I could definitely see the Browns struggling and trying to get quick passes out to their running back. And who is that? That's Ernest Johnson. So I see a lot of points coming his way. So that's a good RB3 to have in your league, or if you're playing a dynasty fantasy football league, if you need that many running backs, I think Ernest Johnson is ideal for y'all.
Yes, sir. Another guy I want to talk about. Sorry, earlier I made a mistake. I said that Royce Freeman was on the Miami.
Yeah,
Dolphins,
I know. I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, he's on the Texans. My bad. I want to talk about the guy that actually used to be on the Texans, but is now on the Dolphins. Since those teams somehow always make a bunch of trades. But his name is Duke Johnson. He's only owned in 1.2% of leagues. Right now, the situation in Miami, like I said earlier, they have all of their running backs out. Like there's nobody healthy besides Duke Johnson. So he's going to be the guy to carry the load. They're going up against the New York Jets, who are historically bad against running backs. The one time that he did play the entire season, because of course he's like the third or fourth string, he only had 4 carries, but he had 18 yards, and that team was against the Jets. So that was the only game that he played. Luckily, like miraculously, that he showed that he is able to pound the rock. I mean, a 6 yard per carry, or no, 4.5 yard per carry. That's pretty good. So I see him not being extraordinary like it says on the fantasy app. It says he's supposed to get 16 points. I see him getting like 12 to 14 at max. Maybe they use him inside the red zone. I know that the Jets are historically bad inside the red zone passing, so maybe they use him to pound the rock in there. Maybe he gets 2 touchdowns, hopefully. But I think he's a guy to pick up because he is their only option there. Unless Miami gets totally like bum rushed by the Jets and they get like shut out, which I don't see happening at all. He's a good guy to have as a running back 3 or a flex if you're struggling in those positions right now. You have a lot of injuries.
Nice. One group, I just lost my train of thought right now. I don't know how, but one group of running backs that I would advise to stay away from are the Buffalo Bills running backs. And it's not that they're bad. It's not that they can't find a rhythm. I don't know what they're trying to do in the running back position because Knox, I mean, he was playing very well. Breida, he's a speedster, and he's proven that he could be a lead back. And they also have Devin Singletary, but he doesn't get that many points. But when you really look into it, the Buffalo Bills are averaging 17 rush attempts. They're averaging 17 rush attempts. So why are they getting rid of the running game? I have no idea. I get that you're stacked offensively, but no team should be averaging 17 rush attempts. That's just horrible. So fantasy wise, you want to stay away from the Buffalo Bills running backs. Also, unless you want to roll the dice, I would advise to stay away from the Philadelphia running backs with Miles Sanders, Gainwell, and Scott. So you don't know who they're going to like that day. I mean, one of those guys is going to blow up, but it's just like a little roulette. You do not know who's going to tear it up that game, especially if Miles Sanders comes back healthy, then they're just totally going to be splitting that backfield. Yeah, stay away from them.
True that.
As far as wide receivers, Vince, I know some people do struggle with wide receivers. There is one wide receiver I talked about. Was it last week? And I like him going forward. So Jalen Waddle has been tearing it up for the Miami Dolphins, but that's because it's only been him. Now he's going to be splitting that field with veteran Devonte Parker, some guy who's always been reliable. He's only owned in 19% of rosters, and the last time he played was against the Giants, coming back from an injury. He scored 11.20 points. I could see that going much higher. He was playing. That was his first game back, and then he had a bye week last week. Now you're going to see 100% healthy Devonte Parker going against the New York Jets. Then after that, the Saints and the Tennessee Titans. You got very favorable matchups there. So Jalen Waddle is going to be producing some points, but he's also going to be sharing some of that with Devonte Parker. I think he'll be a great pickup for any fantasy league. I think he is a definite start at flex position to help you proceed and win your playoff games. So
Yeah, man, I agree. I have his stats right here too. I was going to talk about him as well. We got the same mindset with receivers. But the last 3 times he's played, he's got 17, 16, and then like you said, like the last time he played it was 11.2 points. So he's very consistent when he's in. He gets the ball, and usually it's for like mid to long routes because he is that big-bodied catching guy. So I agree. He's a definite pickup. The only reason I didn't have him on my fantasy this year is because he missed already 7 games in the season. So I think last year I had him and he was good when he was healthy, but that's his problem. He needs to stay healthy. So hopefully this bye week helped him and he has a monster game against the Jets.
Oh yeah, especially if they're only relying on one running back. he's going to have a break at some point. They're going to be passing the ball a little bit more than usual, but I still think the running back position is going to get a lot of points. But yeah, definitely Devonte Parker is a good pickup.
Yeah, man. Another guy who's kind of the same as him, in my opinion. He's been doing pretty well lately. He's not on a big name team or anything like that. He plays for the Lions, but he's been their guy lately. I mean, I think I talked about him last week. He scored 24.8 points in Week 13 against the Minnesota Vikings, and he had a tough matchup this week against Denver. And he still got past the ball 12 times, and he got 8 receptions, and he got 73 yards. He didn't score a touchdown this week like he did the week prior, but I mean, 15.3 points for a guy that plays on the Lions, I mean, I would take it. And he's going against Arizona this week, so it's going to be another tough matchup. But after that, he plays Atlanta, and then he plays my Seahawks. And from what I saw, the way this guy is playing, we couldn't bottle up Cooks for nothing, man. Of course, Cooks is a star receiver, but the way Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing, he's pretty good as well. So I could see him torching us up a little bit. I don't see the Lions beating us, but I do definitely see him getting some points. So I think he's a good pickup to keep on your bench, see how he plays against Arizona. And I think in Atlanta, he's going to make some noise because the last time he played a defense that was in the green, he had 24.8 points. So I see him being consistent, especially when he's getting 12 targets in the last 2 games.
Nice, man. You got any receivers? Devonte Parker was the only one I want to talk about today. But like I said, it's more not the quantity. It's just you got to really pick and choose who you're going to be putting your waiver against, since there's not going to be a lot of comp.
I think those 2 guys are the top guys to get. I wanted to talk about Jalen Guyton. He plays for the LA Chargers. But right now, Keenan Allen is on COVID, and that's why he's been playing a lot. And he's been scoring a lot too. He had 19 points in Week 13 against the Bengals and 20 points against the Giants this past week. But he's more their deep route guy. Lately, he only gets like 3 targets, but he catches everything that's thrown to him. He's a big guy. He's like Mike Williams, but younger. So he's their deep route guy. I wouldn't waste something on him right now because he's going against Kansas City, but with Keenan Allen coming back, I think his production is going down. But he is their deep ball guy, so if you believe in him, I really don't. After Keenan Allen comes back, I don't think he'll have the same stat line. He'll have like 1 or 2 targets like he usually does, and he only averages about like 4 points. So I just wanted to give him credit. He's been doing amazing, and I think in the future for next year, he's going to be a guy to look at. But yeah, other than that, I mean, nobody else is consistent enough. Nobody is eye-popping. So usually it's just the guys that you got right now, and then really you're trying to get those running backs. So save your waiver wires for the running backs.
Yeah. Must pick up running backs. Even if it's just for a week. Every week counts. Every point counts. It's going to suck if you're in the playoffs and you lose by 2 points or 0.5. And it happens. It happens all the time. So make sure you get the best possible lineup, the best possible outcome. Look at your waiver wires. Look at the available players. Look at your feed. See who people are dropping. Maybe they are desperate. They need to pick someone up, and all they have is a good bench. They drop that, and it's a good opportunity. But look at the matchups. That's going to help you out. But speaking of matchups, let's talk about defense. Now we're going to get into defense, and defense is a crucial part. Same thing as a tight end position, because the more points your defense gets, the bigger possibility you're going to win. I know that sounds like, oh, well, duh, right? But in average, defense usually average 5 to 7 points. If your defense could get more than that, then you could potentially lock the game, because that's basically another player playing for you, and that's how it's supposed to be. So if you're like me, I switch up my defense every week, but you want to look at the long run now. So my first defense for week 15 that I would like to see other people pick up, which they're not owned in a lot of leagues, surprisingly. But I got the Tennessee Titans. They're playing up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yeah, I know Vince just said that Big Ben could tear him up, but that doesn't mean that the Titans are not going to score a lot of points defensively. Big Ben does make a lot of mistakes, and I do think the Titans could capitalize on that, where their defense has been helping the offense out a lot lately this past season. Next up, I doubt they're available. I got the Arizona Cardinals against the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions they just seem that they're still trying to figure themselves out. I feel like now it's a back half of the season. They're going to start experimenting with certain players, certain plays. Cardinals should have that game locked down. Next up, I got the Minnesota Vikings against the Bears. It's a divisional game. I get it. But Justin Fields, he doesn't have that culture just yet. The Vikings are going to play rough like they always do. Their defense is pretty solid. And especially if they're trying to make a run to get into the playoffs, then they're going to have to win out because the teams that are ahead of them, they have all the tiebreakers. So it's a must win for the Vikings. Now, the last one I have, my least confident out of the four, I have the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Like I said, it just really depends on what Niners team is coming to show up that day. I mean, their defense is pretty much, steady and consistent with points, but they have a huge possibility to really get a lot of points on defense against the Atlanta Falcons, especially last week where the Atlanta Falcons were very disappointing and did not utilize Kyle Pitts to his fullest potential. And then their biggest threat and wide receiver besides Kyle Pitts is Russell Gage. I could definitely see the Niners just taking care of business up front and, making them an example of why they should be in the playoffs. But also it is a must win for the Niners too, because the Falcons are trying to go up in the playoffs. So if the Niners beat out the Falcons, they have that tiebreaker over them just in case they do tie in records. So it is very crucial for the Niners to win that game as well. So yeah, that's my defense.
Not bad, man. Not bad. I wanted to highlight maybe the Dolphins. They're going up against the Jets. I think maybe they'll do all right. They're averaging like a little bit less than one interception per game, and then I think like a little bit less than 2.5 sacks per game as well. I don't know, man. I just don't believe in the Jets' new QB of the century. I didn't like when they drafted Wilson. I didn't think he was going to be anything, especially going into that team. But I think maybe the Dolphins can have a good defensive game. They haven't had one in a while, and usually they have at least one every 4 to 5 weeks. So, in my opinion, I think maybe the Dolphins as well. They're 6-7. They're on a good little winning type streak right now, even though they just lost. But they've been climbing up on the ladder, and the Jets are still 3-10. So I think maybe the Dolphins are a good defense to pick so far, if you can't find any of the ones that AG talked about, because this is definitely a number 5 on the list.
Definitely. Yeah, I was looking at that too. And it's kind of tough when you see teams like Jacksonville against what was it,
The
Houston?
Texans.
You're just
Yeah.
like, uh,
Yeah, I
do they
passed up
cancel
on
each
that
other out or what? A negative times a negative equals a positive, and you don't know what to do there. So,
one. Yeah, it's going to be a 0-0 tie.
oh man, but I honestly I do think Jacksonville's a better team
Mhm.
there, but I feel like Houston's going to come out with a win. In my opinion, I like Davis Mills a lot. I
Yeah, he played very well against us.
I do. I just think he needs a better offensive line. I mean, that's both sides. Your offense cannot run with a poor offensive line. It is a huge impact on each team. And Davis, like quarterbacks, like rookies, Davis Mills and Trevor Lawrence, they have a lot of potential, but it comes down to the offensive line. Kind of like what we talked about yesterday, their head coach, and if they believe in them or not. And Houston Texans, they have a lot to play for. I mean, they're the garbage can of the NFL right now. No one takes them seriously because the organization was trash because of they got exposed, with JJ Watt coming up and saying what he said, DeAndre Hopkins coming up saying what he said, and Deshaun Watson doing what he's doing. But now you have another organization that's in the dumpster fire right now with Urban Meyer. I mean, they're both playing not to win the game, not for a playoff chance. They're playing for their own respect, saying, hey man, we have a future. And right now, I think the Texans have more to lose than the Jacksonville Jaguars. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
just
man,
me.
it's just too dirty there in Jacksonville right now. Uh, their mindset is totally off the field as an organization, and it travels down to the players because they're frustrated with everything. So usually affects their play, and I think that's why this past week they got shut out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sucks to see it, but sometimes it happens, man.
Yep. And pay attention this week, guys. We got a lot of games. We got Thursday night football. We got Saturday football. We got 2 games Saturday and then Sunday and then Monday. Is going to be such a great weekend. Unfortunately, I'm working. This is hopefully the last week I work until I take off for vacation down there in the valley. So if you're down in the valley, hit me up. I'll be down for a whole week. We'll have some fun. But yeah, this week's going to be fun. We got Thursday night football, 2 Saturday football games, Sunday all day football, then Monday night football, just nonstop. We're just missing out on Friday, but I mean, Fridays are for the boys, right?
Heck yeah, man.
But a lot of people won't agree with me there. I'll stop right there. But let's talk about Thursday night football. Let's finish this fantasy talk up. Let's talk about Thursday night football, and we have an interesting matchup. We got the LA Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the first time they played, it was also a primetime game, I believe. And man, it was a good game.
I think that was one of the highest scoring games in the league that year.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is on. Justin Herbert had ice in his veins. Uh, it was just nuts. I think that's the game that Clyde Edwards-Helaire got hurt too, and
Mm,
then Williams came in and he was like, "Hey man, I got this." But it's going to be a great game. And honestly, I think the favorable team is the Kansas City Chiefs.
yeah.
But I'm going to say different. I think I'm going to have the Los Angeles Chargers. Here's my board up. It's not as colorful as yesterday, but I got bolts up. I got the Chargers going up, coming out, and proving their dominance to that division. Right now, they are down, but they did beat them the first time. I think they'll come out stronger than ever. It's a divisional game. It's going to be close no matter what. But I think the Chargers are going to assert their dominance and remind the people out there that they are a very strong team and that they are still a Super Bowl contender. So I
Cool,
got
man.
the Chargers there.
Cool. Well, I didn't draw on my board. I don't feel like drawing on it this morning. Kind of sore from yesterday's workout on my back and stuff, but I would have to agree. I think the Chargers are going to do very, very well, and I think it's going to be another game that goes down to the wire. But I think right now, with everybody healthy in Kansas City, I think it's just going to overpower them. If Keenan Allen comes back, I think it's definitely going to be a factor. So the Chargers could win, but I have Kansas City winning slimly, 31-28. I think it's going to come down to a field goal, and either Kansas City makes a field goal or LA misses the field goal, and that's how I think it's going to play out. So I got Kansas City. I had to choose separate from AJ here. I think our records are tied right now in
Oh, is it?
football. Yeah.
Oh,
So
jeez. I know my Thursday football games, they're all out of whack because of Thanksgiving. So
I mean,
thanks a
yeah,
lot, Dallas.
I know,
So,
right? Freaking Turkey Day was a horrible pick day for us.
horrible day. I think Monday Night Football, I'm thriving. I know I lost last night, but I think I'm really far ahead.
Yeah.
But dang it, who
Yeah,
would
man,
have
we got to
thought?
catch Reed. We got to catch Reed.
And you know him, he likes to talk a lot.
Oh,
So,
yeah. We got a
uh,
couple more weeks to hopefully catch up to him.
yeah, guys. But I know fantasy football is coming, slowly coming to an end. So we're here to help grind you out. And we got some big announcements coming up after fantasy season. So stay tuned. We're not going away. We're still going to be providing a lot of videos. So just stick with us, man. We got a big announcements coming up, especially in the holiday season. We'll probably announce it during the holidays. But thank you, everyone, for being here. And hopefully you're in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, if you're listening to us, you should be in the playoffs. Obviously, right? But yeah, until next time, you guys, we'll see you guys on the waiver wire, and good luck in fantasy playoffs. Hopefully you guys make it. We believe in y'all. Until next time, catch you later.